I already
Call
told you the
I might get a
built-in
call if
birth
he
control.
keeps up. So just letting you know. If I have to run, then you guys just carry on, and then I'll come back.
Well, we've already had a very good discussion about this. We should have recorded it. uh, all
All
right,
right.
we're live. Hey, everybody! Welcome to the Untitled Show, episode number. I think it's 5. I don't know what the hell. Um,
Yeah,
let's.
we'll go with that.
It sounds right. This is February 10th, 2016. I'm your host, Matthew Weber. I'm joined by Mr. Ricky Williams
What
and
up? What
Mr.
up?
Vincent Hui.
What's up?
All right, so we're going to be talking about one particular comic that Ricky pulled out of his ass. I mean, it's literally in the middle of an arc. I mean, with no context surrounding it. So if you don't know what's going on surrounding
Okay, so
this.
we're talking about New Mutants '98, which is first appearance of Deadpool. And that's because the Deadpool movie is coming out on Friday. I
Tomorrow.
was gonna do X-Force 2, which is the second appearance, so it's kind of like first appearance, second appearance. But I figured since I changed it like one day before, I just stick with the one comic and make it a little easier for us. Yeah.
What?
Okay, hold on. You guys go ahead and talk for a bit, and then I'll jump in with what I gotta say. My kid
Okay.
might
All right,
have
so
had
Vince,
a
you're good
little
at this.
accident.
Yeah, Vince,
Okay.
you're good at this. Explain what this comic is about. Okay, maybe give some context into where this
All
particular
right.
issue
So I'll
falls.
try to do a little bit here. So, in a nutshell, New Mutants is basically the kind of, I think you put it best. It was the kind of Tiny Toons of the X-Men or the Mutant series that Marvel had. Again, put into context, Marvel at this point in the '90s is in its heyday. The comic book boom is huge. So everyone's buying comics, not even just because of storylines, because it was cool, but because it was people like who were speculating. People were buying comics and baseball cards and all those things. I'm not sure if you remember, but they were buying them because they thought that it was going to be of value, right? So
Yeah.
everyone's buying comics. Now, this one was of note because, again, because people were speculating on comic books, any time a new character came in, it would be like, oh man, it's the first appearance of so-and-so. I got to buy it because it's going to be worth something, right? So in case in point, this guy, this issue happens to be the first appearance of Deadpool. And Deadpool is a kind of anti-hero. Later on in time, you'll find, and that's the reason why I got this movie made, he's the kind of known as the merc with a mouth. Basically, he's not only the kind of acerbic, kind of sarcastic character that's really badass and can't die. Effectively, he's like super healing power, but he just can't die. But the thing is that he also breaks the fourth wall. In a lot of the comic books that he is in now currently, not only does he speak sarcastically to the characters, but he'll actually break the fourth wall. That is to say, talk to the audience or the reader and say, "Hey, yo, man, did you see the other page? There's an ad for condoms there." Like he'll just be like weird stuff like that. They just be like, "Did you just do that?" So that's the thing that made him kind of cool, right? And I think that's going to also come about. Like I think there was. No spoilers on this front to say that the Deadpool movie that's coming out apparently has like dozens, if not 100 Easter eggs, just like of Deadpool breaking the fourth wall. So they're carrying the comic book character into the actual movie. You're going to see him. Like there's a point when I think they make a reference to Professor X. Like this has actually been talked about. Like there's a point in Deadpool's movie where someone says, "Oh, I'm gonna." Colossus is trying to recruit Deadpool and says, "Hey, I want you to join like the X-Men and with Professor X." And then at some point, Deadpool goes, "You mean which Professor X? Patrick Stewart or James McIlroy, right? Or whatever, right? Whatever that guy is named, right?" So it's just kind of funny how they always break the fourth wall. So coming back to the comics, this was the first issue where he shows up. And without going into too much detail, I was mentioning to you, Matt, that Deadpool is basically Marvel's response to a character that came from the DC universe known as Deathstroke, basically a super assassin. And you mentioned that the Deathstroke character is now making a little bit more of a headway in the Green Arrow TV series. Is that what
Yep.
you're saying?
Yep.
So those of you guys that know that character is pretty much a master assassin, and he was really he is a classic character within the Teen Titans and Batman kind of universe. So Marvel, remember this is a big fight between Marvel versus DC. That's the two big comic book houses. Marvel decided to start not only trying to populate its comics and make popular characters so you buy more issues, but they also want to poke fun at DC, their rival. So they decided to make this knockoff of a Deathstroke character called Deadpool, and it's very overt, like the way he looks, the way he acts. He has guns and he has swords, and he's a super ninja body-fitting outfit. Just like a very simple mask. The thing is that it's pretty much the deal. The deal is pretty much sealed when you look at the names. Deathstroke's name is Slade Wilson, whereas Deadpool in Marvel Universe is known as Wade Wilson. So you can tell it was pretty much a kind of like knockoff parody character at best at that point in time. Long story short, this comic contextualizes him as basically a mercenary mutant. You really don't get all too much of his skill set in this particular comic. I don't think you really know what he's capable of, other than the fact that he's just a paid assassin. The reality
because he gets his ass kicked by Domino, right?
Yeah, Domino just basically stabs in the back. So the central focus of this particular comic is, of course, Cable. Back in the old days, Cable was this mysterious character who comes out of nowhere. He's like this kind of lone wolf kind of character. He's grizzled, he's old, and everyone thinks he's like this badass mutant that just like carries guns and shoots stuff, and it seemingly has this really great ability to not get killed. It turns out later on, beyond this one issue, that Cable is the future son of Scott Summers, who is Cyclops, and Jean Grey, and they send him into the super future because basically Cable gets a disease as a child that basically would kill him, so they send him to the super far future to get him cured, but then because he's doing all these time traveling things, he ends up coming back in time, and that's why you see this really old man fighting alongside a lot of the X-Men. So the comic's really about him. It's not about Deadpool, and I think they just make a big deal out of Cable being a badass by just basically almost getting killed by this guy, and Domino, his Cable's girlfriend, comes out and saves him. So that's the story in a nutshell, and that's the kind of context that this whole entire issue comes about from.
Okay, so explain this to me. What's the connection between Gideon and Cable?
Actually, there's not very much. Gideon's like a very middling bad guy. Gideon is the antagonist in this story arc, where he's an evil mutant who I really don't know what his powers are, because even back in the old days, it seemed like he was a useless character. He
seems to. The only thing he really does in this is, he punches some people for reasons unbeknownst to anybody. So like the first 3 pages or whatever, he's fighting someone.
Well, he's fighting
talking about. Say it again.
He's fighting a simulation. So.
Okay.
The comic alludes to his skill, but I don't even, for the life of me, I can't remember. I just know that he was good at kicking ass and fist fights and stuff. But
yeah, so the only thing of consequence in this comic is he hires someone to
poison.
Say it again.
So Gideon hires another female assassin to poison this character, this new mutant, his father, DaCosta. He basically, Gideon hires someone to kill one of the New Mutants' father. This New Mutant is named Sunspot, also known as, I can't remember his first name, but Sunspot is basically DaCosta's son.
Roberto.
Roberto, yeah. So Sunspot is basically a member of the New Mutants, again, like the Tiny Toons mutant X-Men team, and he's working under Cable. And the situation is that Gideon hires a femme fatale to poison Sunspot's father, so that Gideon can then move in and be the good guy surrogate to take Sunspot out of the New Mutants team. Basically, Sunspot comes from money, so Gideon wants his money, and then also Gideon wants to abuse Sunspot. Sunspot's capacity is that he gets superhuman strength, the ability to fly and all that stuff by drawing from the energy from the sun. So obviously Gideon eventually has a machine that actually sucks that power out. So that's what he's trying to do. So it's a really stupid story arc on that front, but the real reason why this is of consequence is because, again, Deadpool comes into play, and it's really a really crappy way of him starting up in the comic world because A, as you said, he just gets his butt kicked, like a punk, and
And he's
B,
only there for a few seconds. Yeah.
he's only it's like a little glimmer of stuff, right? But I mean, if you look back in the history of comics, you look at, say, do you remember where Wolverine first showed up in comics?
No, like I said, I'm not big into the X-Men universe, so you have to tell me.
That's okay. The Wolverine actually shows up in an Incredible Hulk comic. His first appearance is when the Incredible Hulk is just like roaming around Canada because he can't be in America, right? So he's like a lot of Americans that are disgruntled with the political situation. He moves up to Canada.
Probably looking for free health care or something.
Healthcare to get that gamma radiation out of him, and then he encounters Wolverine from the Weapon X program, and then obviously Marvel's just trying to make up a character that's Canadian, right? So it's a Wolverine guy, and people kind of like this. And again, it's typical of how comic books introduce bad guys, right? Like if it sticks, like Wolverine, if you look at his original outfit, it was this yellow outfit with he had whiskers on his face and stuff, and you're like, dude, that's ridiculous, and he had claws, right? And it looks so stupid. But then people actually liked them. So I think the way that comic books work is that they throw out all these really cool characters that they think would sell, and then if it sticks, then guess what? Then they start making backstories about the kind of brooding backstory of like Wolverine. He was like tortured and he was all this. And I think that's the same thing that happened to Deadpool. Deadpool was just like a one-hit wonder kind of guy, and then they said, as Ricky said, you find Deadpool coming about later on, because some people liked his kind of sarcastic sense of humor. Again, that's a function of the 90s, and as a result, they start adding more and more stuff to his backstory.
Okay, last question about this particular issue. Who is Ron? Rahne? Who's that? Ron?
That's another mutant. She's basically a werewolf mutant.
Okay.
I think. She's Wolfbane, I think. That's her alias. I think she's the one that's like, she looks like a werewolf, but she's a girl. That's about it.
Okay. I don't think it matters because it played no part in the story of this particular issue, but I mean, it was just kind of thrown in there, and I didn't know who it was.
Oh,
all right.
It's a bigger story arc. This is coming off of, if I recall, this is coming off of when basically the New Mutants, they just totally get decimated. And that's why, like, even Xavier's not around. That's why Cable, who came just like 10, 12 issues earlier, that's why he's asserted himself as the leader of the New Mutants, basically. So there was a huge. It's again, these story arcs start blending in and overlapping each other.
Yeah, and why it was so hard to read one issue. Yeah. All right. So why don't you? I mean, you've pretty much given your. I mean, do we even bother giving a rating on this or a score?
How? I mean, it's so hard. It's like saying, like, can you review some music by listening to the bar? It's like
yeah.
But I mean, if you're talking about this as an introduction to a character,
hey guys, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Puking baby.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Everything's cool.
Yeah, no.
So I just basically went through the whole story of what's going on there. I explained to Matt the story arc. I also explained to Matt how Deadpool is a knockoff parody of Deathstroke. I also talked about how in the 90s it was all about making people buy comics because they'd be worth something, and that's why the way you make comic books worth something is either you put really cool flashy things on the cover, like holographic covers, or you put new characters in, and then if it sticks, that's the first appearance of that badass character, and that's what happened. Like I was telling them, Matt, that I have the first issue where Cable appears. I think it's New Mutants 7 or something, right?
87,
back in my day, that comic was worth like $100 and something bucks, right? And now I'm pretty sure it's worth like $10 tops, right?
No, that's worth. Well, in good condition, it's worth a couple $100 because.
No way.
Oh yeah, because well, I mean, just like the New Mutants '98, right now it's worth about. I mean, in good condition, it's worth about $1,300.
No way.
Right, because of its first appearance in the movie.
You know what?
Right? And with the movie coming out, Fox has already greenlit the sequel to the movie, and the rumor is that Cable's going to be in the sequel. So first appearance of Cable, it's going up.
Well, I don't know. See, I think first off, I feel like an idiot because I think I gave away some of my comics. Because I kept Cable first appearance, but I know for a fact I did not keep that New Mutants issue with like first
Yeah.
Deadpool. So
I kept all my Archie comics.
yeah, you do that.
So yeah, so I mean, I missed some of it, but I mean, the reason I chose this, I know Matt, you're probably like 5 years old when it came out in '91. This issue.
Hey! I was 6, okay? I was 6.
But like
You guys are
I
like in
know
college or
it's
something.
the middle of an arc and so on, but the reason I chose it is because most of the major characters like X-Force, like Cable, people are familiar with them, familiar with the their style of the character and so on. And I mean, going forward after this, Deadpool and Cable, they're like inextricably linked. Like there's a Deadpool and Cable series. There's the whole thing where they go through time together.
Wow.
Like they're always together. And
I was going to say though, Rick, because I stopped following and collecting comics maybe about I don't know 4 years after this, but I cannot like reading this comic again because they do all this back and forth time travel, right? It seems very clear that Cable does not know who Deadpool is, and vice versa, right? Whereas if I understand this correctly, looking at a couple of the more recent X books with Cable and Deadpool, it seems like they've been on so many adventures and that they've actually time travel. Like you know how Cable time slides, right?
yeah.
So it seems really weird that they have to justify, like, does he get his mind wiped or something before their first meeting? Like that's the thing I can't justify.
Who, Cable?
Yeah, because he doesn't know who. He
Yeah.
doesn't like if you read that comic, that first appearance, he's like, whoa, who the hell's this guy? What's he do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, this is Deadpool's first appearance, right? And I think going after this, where they're together through travels and stuff, right? You got to remember, like, this was written in the '90s, the first appearance of Deadpool, so they probably didn't anticipate with Deadpool and Cable going on, because I mean, I've even talked about it. Like, you can see the Deadpool in this comic is very different from the Deadpool that we know today, who's basically the merc with a mouth, right? Like, he says funny stuff, he talks about chimichangas, everything is like just hilarious to him, right? Like, in this, like, his very first appearance, where they basically created the character, he's more of a mercenary than just doing it for shits and giggles, right? Like, he
Yeah.
says, like, Tolliver hired me to, basically kick your ass. Like, I mean, you still get the part where Cable says you talk too much, or, like, he still says funny stuff, but he's not like the constant quip after quip after quip, and like, I can't die, so this is all just a joke, or like, you know what I mean? Like, his character later on is very different from this very first appearance. Like, he's very much more serious, more like, I'm just gonna kill you and go collect my money, right?
Yeah.
So carrying on later, who knows? They probably say somewhere in there where it's like, oh well, like, yeah, his mind was wiped or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, even in this is like Domino's first appearance, but it's not really Domino, it's actually Copycat,
Yeah.
right? Playing Domino, which is funny because in the movie, his Deadpool's love interest is actually the character who is Copycat, right? Who becomes Copycat. So it's all really interestingly linked. But I mean, like, the reason I chose this is because, like I said, it's his first appearance, and you can see how different of a character he really is from the Deadpool that we know today, right? But like I said, it's like the '90s. just the style of the characters, you know, like Boom Boom's like shades, the sleeveless shirts, Gideon's
Mullets.
like friggin' ponytail swinging in the wind, you know, like the huge muscles on all the characters, like Deadpool, and the pocket, whatever those things around the legs, right? Like, and Richter, uh,
Mullet.
no, Cannonball. I mean Cannonball,
Oh, yeah.
who actually is a big part of the whole Civil War series, right? Um,
Yeah.
so it's just a throwback to the '90s of how '90s their costumes and the way they talk and stuff. You know, so yeah, that I don't know. Did you guys
Back when
go
the
through like?
'90s were hip or whatever it is.
Did
All
you
right,
guys
so
go
I'm
through?
gonna cut you off there, Ricky. As we're running over, we decided not to give a score on this because it's being pretty unfair just rating one single issue when you don't really know what's going on. Because like me, excuse me, if I were to give this a score before I talked to Vince, it would have been a 0. I had no idea what the hell was going on. And now that I understand a little bit more of what what was happening, I have to give it a higher score. Anyway, so we won't give a score. We talked about mostly that was Vince and I talking, but anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and jump to the section because it is after 10 o'clock. All right, so I'm gonna go first this week because actually I did some stuff this week. I reinstalled Dota 2 and played a little bit of Dota.
How long?
Probably a couple hours.
That's it?
Well, all right. So I'm still being a coward and haven't taken it online yet. So basically, I just keep playing the tutorial over and over again, because Dota is so huge, and you gotta be able to go through and understand the inventory of things that you can equip and heal and all that kind of stuff. And there's just hundreds and hundreds of items that you can get with gold. And if you don't know those things and you just automatically go online, you're just gonna get your ass kicked, and that's not gonna be fun. So I'm still trying to learn. Anyway, so I did that. But the main thing I want to talk about in my part of the section is I despise The Hobbit.
Like
So,
the book or the series or just like
all right, so the book. All right, so I like the Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is really good. I enjoy the books quite a lot. But The Hobbit. Imagine, if you will, a group of dwarves, a hobbit, and a wizard go on a quest to kill a big mighty dragon, and you read, I don't know, like 200 pages, and thinking this, the confrontation between the dwarves and the dragon is going to be epic, and it's going to be amazing, and then this guy who shows up in the last 25, 30 pages or whatever, kills the dragon and then walks away. The dwarves, the hobbit, and the wizard have nothing to do with the dragon at all. I mean, it's a trek towards the dragon, and then somebody else kills the dragon.
don't forget all the songs.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it drives me. That's just Tolkien. That's what he does. I mean, he's got I don't know, 40 pages of Tom Bombadillo or whatever. And that guy's just off dancing and skipping through the forest, singing along, and that's in the Fellowship of the Rings. Anyways. That's my rant. I despise The Hobbit. No matter how well written, no matter how well it sets up the bridge into the Lord of the Rings, with the the whole plot of the book is based on them killing the dragon, and they're not the fucking ones that kills the dragon. Anyways, Vince, what did you do this week?
Deal with appeals. So it's probably best I don't say anything, but.
Professor Snape strikes again.
It really has not been a fun week at all. Yeah, kids, just don't be stupid, man. I told you, kids, don't be stupid, don't be lazy, and don't be proud, right? If you do something bad, admit to it and learn from it. If you have to do the work, then do the damn work. Don't be lazy. Like, that's just ridiculous. And you know what? If I catch you cheating, if I tell you that you're lazy because you know that you can do better and you didn't do it, don't just be like, no, I'm not. No, don't let pride blind you. Are you that stupid and proud that you're not going to actually do the work and learn? Sorry, that's...
You can tell this is just Vince's really hard time to be a professor. Poor little man. All right, Ricky, what did you do this week? Anything fun other than take care of an obviously hypochondriac baby?
I've been running the iOS 9.3 beta, and night shift mode, I have to say, I freaking love it. It's
What's so special about
awesome.
it?
Huh?
What does it do? What's that mean? Night shift mode.
It
Night
takes all
shift
the
mode
blues out of the
basically,
screen.
yeah, turns it
Oh.
from blue to yellow.
Oh no, I've seen that. I've seen that, and you know what? I saw my kid. One of my students had it. As a colorblind guy, that is the worst design decision possible because it makes me want to kill someone. Yellow causes colorblind people to want to stab people.
Okay, well, as a person who's not colorblind, I love it.
Good
Like
news is you can turn it
the
off. It's very easy.
screen.
There's a toggle.
Well, I mean, it's not even on by default, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to set it, even if, yeah, you set it to automatic or something, and then it comes on with the sunrise. But anyways, I set mine so that it's on all the time because I hate that bluish hue to the screen. And oh, I love it. The screen looks so much nicer.
Okay. I know that wasn't much
I
of an
just won't
episode.
show it to any colorblind people.
Yeah, because it makes them want to stab people. Anyways, if you want to get in contact with us, I'm not giving out that fucking email address. That's just, I need a new one. That's terrible. If you want to follow us on Twitter, the podcast is at Untitled Podcast. I'm at MTWB. Vince is VWHUI. Actually, what's really funny is he actually tweets more than the other two, either Ricky and I combined. The man just loves Twitter. He's always on Twitter. Ricky's Ricky underscore. It has nothing about, he's just architecture. He's cool. He's the cool prof guy.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't think any of his students have ever described him as cool before.
I think the most I've been described this week has been, why are you so angry?
Because you're showing me your iPhone screen in night shift mode.
Yeah. If you want to, you can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Entitled Show, and you can follow us on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/the-untitled-show. Way too many dashes. All right. Next week we will be talking about The Princess Bride.
Right on.
All right. So obviously I've never seen this movie.
It's a classic. Rick.
That's with Hudson, right?
Carrie Eulis, like the guy from the original Saw, Sean Penn's wife, Robin Wright Penn, Andre the Giant.
Okay, it's not the one I'm
The
thinking.
little short dude that goes inconceivable, and yeah.
Okay, so
Savage.
and you don't want me to make fun of anything racist, but it's okay to make fun of the little short dude. Okay, just make sure we're getting our priorities straight. All right, anyways, we'll be talking about The Princess Bride next week. We'll see you then.
Take care, guys.
Take it easy.